What are you doing?
I'm practicing my out of coffee signal. It's like Batman's got a signal, you know, when the city needs him. I need coffee. I need a signal, right? Hey guys, welcome to Gear Tasting. I'm here with Eric Hadley. Thanks for coming by, brother. So Eric is from Got Your Six Coffee. I've been drinking Got Your Six Coffee for a while now. I really like his product, and I was pretty excited to hear that he's local and that he could come by and actually do a gear tasting with us, because I've always really wanted to learn more about the actual process of how to taste coffee, and that's that dreaded cupping word that I really think is a little comical, but if you want to call it that, that's fine for the episode. But
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to do today. We wanted to kind of show you guys the process. I wanted to talk to Eric about anything and everything coffee, as well as kind of get him to teach you guys out there a little bit of about coffee too, because not only do I want to learn, but I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that kind of love drinking coffee, but they don't really know what they should be looking for. And I'm kind of in that boat too. I know what I love, but I don't really know why I like it. So hopefully I learn a little more about that.
Awesome.
So tell us just a little bit about Got Your Six. So you guys are really focused on, you know, veteran issues and things like that. You're also giving back to, which I think is one of the coolest parts about your business. Not only you're a Navy veteran, but giving back to charities that support veteran issues, as well as first responders, military, that type of stuff, firefighters. So walk me through that and tell everyone a little bit about that too.
So Got Your Six, like Bryan said, what we're doing is very similar to Newman's Own. Newman's Own, we sell our product's coffee, and at the end of the day, when we pay all the bills for our business, we take our proceeds and give them back to various charities that are geared towards helping EMT, law enforcement, firefighters, and veterans. I got into this November of last year, and with the idea that, you know, a lot of negativity going around the world, and just wanted to use the power of coffee as a catalyst to do positive things in my community. And as I got into it, I saw more and more that this could be something done nationally too. So got into coffee, and we've been selling online now for I think 120 days on the website.
That's awesome.
And you know, like I said, just really trying to do something positive with the power of coffee.
That's awesome, man.
Or the necessity of coffee.
Yeah, I love what you're doing, and you know, kind of as a fellow entrepreneur, I love that you guys are using coffee that way. It's great to see that, so I'm really very supportive of what you guys do, so I'm really happy to have you here. So let's kind of get into the cupping process, and you can kind of tell me exactly what we're doing here and what I should be looking for.
So cupping process is a process that coffee shops and owners go through when they go on site to the farms and they're checking the product. This is something you can do at your home as well. It's pretty basic. It's just a way, in many ways, it's very similar to like a wine tasting or something like that. So,
which I have done.
Yeah. So what you can do is, you know, I encourage you to go out. The necessities that you'll need to do this at home, you want to get a couple varieties of coffee. I would recommend 3. We've got 2 here today. Just some cups, and they can be, you know, standard cups that you have at the house. The idea is you want everything to be the same. And a scale. That's really all that you need. So what you would do is you take the cup, put it on the scale, zeroed out, and for this size cup we're doing 12.5 grams of coffee, and we've done the bean, the ground, and
so this is the same amount of bean that this is the ground.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And you grounded in this thing.
I did
and this
grind
is a
it.
burr grinder.
Yeah,
right?
just a burr grinder. You can adjust the grind to that. So if you're doing this, what you want to do is something just a little bit finer than what you would do for a drip grind. I don't know if you want to, you can kind of see the difference here, what we've ground to, but so you start off with the bean, and if you had several samples, what you could do is you take your bean and you just kind of do an aroma test. Tell me what you see or what you're smelling. You can kind of smell the differences between them. We've got
so we got what, blue line on this side. So these 2 are blue line,
yep.
and then these 2 are Mustang. Right?
So blue line is a single origin Colombian medium roast. Mustang is a single origin Guatemalan, and we've got them set up. So
how about like the way beans look? Because I know that a lot of the stuff I like, they're not slick or greasy, and so walk me through that.
Yeah. So one of the the things that you see, like what I do is when we roast them, we package them. Everything's fresh gourmet coffee, so it's right here. But if you go to like the store,
it's not the taster's choice shit.
Yeah, you could end up buying some beans that have, when you pour them in, they kind of look wet or waxy a little bit. It's just some of the differences between what others are doing and what we're doing. So
that's the roast process. It's basically doing that,
I think that's more of like the preservation process to keep it in the bag for longer. And
maybe why Starbucks is so greasy.
Yeah, well,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So what I've got here is the two samples. We've got the bean and the ground already, and in the cupping process, like I said, you want to start off with the cup, and you can
doing the aroma first.
You can do the aroma, and you just want to get in there and really
just get up in
take
there.
a big smell and see what you come up with.
Chocolate, cocoa. It's like the same thing.
Yeah, I'm getting more of caramel on mine, but
maybe a little vanilla.
With the bean side, you're not going to get as much of the smell, but what you can do is notice on the bean, you can see some of the cracking, the crackle of it. That's when it goes through the roasting process. As you bring the bean up to temperature, it gets hotter. It's going to do what they call the first crack, which is what you can see on there. And the roasting process, when you're going through it, actually sounds like popcorn.
Okay.
I mean, it just starts all of a sudden as you get through, you just hear the beans cracking, and you want to pay attention to that as part of the roasting process, because the further you get into it, the darker the roast, and when you're going darker, what you're actually doing is burning the bean and getting more of the caramelized sugars.
Okay.
So
you want to switch? So
yeah.
That's
the blue line.
Or that's the blue line, right?
Yeah, mine's blue line. My favorite is when I'm driving coffee around. I've got it in my truck.
I'm going to say caramel just because I heard you say that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure your truck probably smells pretty good.
So you'll get some smell here, but it's not going to be as bold or as significant as it would be when you get the grind, because that's when you really start to break in and release the bean and the smells.
Same thing here?
Yep, same thing. So yeah, like for me, with the Guatemalan, one of the differences I get is I'm getting more of like a toasty smell, like what you would get when you're doing toast in the morning.
I'm getting coffee. That's what I don't know what I'm smelling. I'm terrible at that. Like, people do that during wine tastings too, and they'll spit out a bunch of words. I'm like, I don't even know what you just said, because it tastes like wine.
Yeah, and you can actually go online. They have, very similar to the wine tasting, you can actually go online, and there's a coffee wheel that kind of describes the different flavors and smells and whatnot. It's pretty significant and interesting once you get into it a little bit more. So
yeah, I'm very interested in getting into that more. It's just, I don't know whether it's just a matter of developing your nose based on those particular parameters.
Yep, and you know, it's like we were talking about earlier. At the end of the day, it's subjective. It's you're going to catch something different than what I'm going to catch. You know, I often have a hard time with the aroma side just because sinuses and everything else going on. So it's really just subjective on what you're coming up with. And
green beans.
Yeah, at the
celery.
At the end of the day, you want.
In my eye.
Yeah, been there. At the end of the day, you just want to find something that's pleasant to you and what you enjoy.
Cool.
You know, and it's, as you go through the different roasting, like I mentioned before, when you get into the darker, you get more of the burnt, the caramelized sugars. When you get into the medium roast, I actually like medium to a little bit lighter than medium, because you get more of the flavors out of the coffee.
Nice.
So
next step is we're actually going to put some hot water in this, right? Next
step, we've got boiling hot water, and what we're going to do is fill it up. We got about 180 grams in the cup.
Okay.
To what we've done in this cup, we've got 12.5 grams of coffee ground, and what we'll do is we'll let that sit for about 2 minutes. And
so the water will be 180 grams? Is that what did you say about 180?
Okay, the weight. And it's, you know, 180 grams, whatever. The key to the tasting and what you do this at home is to be consistent across all platforms. If you're doing several, you want to make sure you're getting the same amount in each one, because more water could dilute it, less water could make it more pungent or stout.
Okay.
So you just want the consistency across everything that you're doing.
All right, we'll come right back with some water.
Awesome.
All right, so we've got our water ready to go, and this is heated to what temperature?
Just boiling.
Boiling, all right.
So what you do, take the water, and we'll just kind of do like what you would regularly do for pour over. And what you'll see is you'll start to see the crust, all the grounds coming up, forms a crust at the top. And when you're doing it, you want to just kind of make sure you get everything wet, kind of agitated.
Wet and agitated? Smells good.
So what we're going to do now is start a watch timer here, and we'll let this go for 2 minutes. And at the 2-minute mark, we're going to come back and we'll do another aroma check.
Cool.
All right, so as we're coming up to the 2-minute mark, what we want to do is you want to really get in, and the top here, the crust, you want to just get the aromas off of what you get. And one of the things...
Sandalwood.
Yeah. One of the things as you're doing this, if you're bouncing around between different ones, you want to smell something different. We were always taught back in chemistry to just kind of smell your skin, and then kind of smell your skin, and it kind of resets your senses. But so now we've got a sense. I don't know if you can on mine. Like I'm picking up a lot of like toast. A little hint of the caramel, a lot of the toast. So at this point, we're getting up to the 3.5-minute mark on the timer. And what we're going to do at the 3.5-minute mark is actually break the crust. And when you do this, it's the same thing. You want to be in the cup's face and break the crust and agitate it 3 times. And that's going to release.
That by plunging the spoon?
Yeah,
agitating?
Just take the top, plunge straight down, and then just agitate it 3 times. That's kind of the standard. And as you do that, it's going to release a bunch of aromas, and you should be able to really capture some of that. So we can kind of go ahead.
All right.
Just same thing, kind of get up into it.
Wow, that really did.
So while you're doing it, come in and just kind of
yeah, that's interesting.
You can rinse your spoon there if you want. So now at this point, what you're going to want to do is clear the top, and I can go ahead and do that now, of all the excessive grounds and the oils. So you just want to come in 2 spoons and kind of get all the oils and the grounds off the top.
That was impressive. That's the part I love when I'm drinking coffee, is the crust. Clearing out the good stuff.
Yeah. And you don't want to cross-contaminate, so go ahead and
rinse them.
Yep.
I can tell you might have done this before.
Once or twice. So now at this point, we're actually going to let the coffee cool off for about 15 minutes. If you let it cool off at 15 minutes, you're going to get more of the flavors and the aromas out of it. So, and that also allows the cup itself, all the sediment and everything, to settle to the bottom, and we'll be able to get a good tasting out of it. So
is it at the 15-minute mark that we'll taste?
Yep, at the 15-minute mark.
Cool.
So we'll come back in 15. I got the watch going.
All right, 15. All right, so we got a couple more minutes before 15, but Eric wanted to talk briefly about different kind of roasts, right?
Yep, so what we've got here are 2 medium roasts, and a lot of people have kind of been branded, if you will, to think that the dark roast is going to have more caffeine, and that it's got more flavor, when in actuality it doesn't. It's as you get up into the medium roast and the darker roast, what you're actually doing is you're burning the bean. And when you burn the bean, you're basically caramelizing the sugars that are within the coffee. So it'd be interesting if you're one of those individuals that always drinks dark roast. Try a medium roast and a light roast, because when you get into the light roast and the medium roast, you're actually going to get a lot more of the flavors, the true coffee bean flavors of what it's intended to be, instead of being something that's been branded and just burnt. And ideally what you want to do is enjoy coffee. You don't want to burn it and then just drown it in cream and sugar.
Yeah.
And,
drink Girl Scout coffee.
Yeah. So as we get up to the 15-minute mark, what we're going to do is like I said, we cleared all the oils and the residual grounds, and the 15 minutes has given the coffee a chance to cool down, which for us allows us to get more of the flavor profile out of the coffee. And the other thing, it allows the cup to settle. So any of the grounds that, as we agitated it, it allows those grounds to go to the bottom. So when we do this, you want to take just off the top and bring it.
We're just taking a little bit of coffee.
Just taking a little bit of coffee, bringing it up, and you want to bring it in like it's hot soup. So kind of slurp it in, agitating with a lot of air to get that oxidation, and you want to bring it all over, swish it inside your mouth. Okay. And what you're going to start to notice, you want to notice 4 different things. One of the first things you notice is that first impression. How's the coffee tasting to you? What flavors are coming to you right off the bat? The second thing, as the coffee's in your mouth and going around, you want to notice the sides of your mouth, where your tongue detects the acidity. Mm-hmm. So the sides of your tongue will start to speak to you on how acidic the coffee is. Okay. And then, beyond that, you just kind of want to enjoy the coffee, and you'll start to notice, like, different coffees, the proteins will bond within your mouth. And one of the ways you can notice that is take the coffee and just kind of run your tongue along the roof of your mouth, mm-hmm. and you'll feel like the slickness. It's almost like if you had fine pieces of sandpaper. You might notice, like with one coffee, it could be like a really fine paper, and then on the next one it could be something a little bit more gritty. So what we'll do is just kind of come in, take it off the top, bring it in. So, and if you're doing this and you're doing several bits of coffee, what you could do, very similar to like a wine tasting, is spit it out. The last thing you want to do is be over caffeinated, mm-hmm. unless it's a necessity. But
so at this point, if we were going to switch and I wanted to do that, should I drink a little water first, or it's not
typically
really
what you're going to see on a farm is the crudeness of it. You're just going to go from 1 to 1 to 1. Okay. So you definitely want to clean your spoon.
Okay. So we'll switch real quick.
Good point though with like the water. I like to do that with the water because it just kind of clears the proteins. Mm-hmm. But I also like expensive whiskeys with that. So. You notice it?
Yeah. So this to me seemed a little milder. So the Mustang.
The Mustang, like you said, is the single origin Guatemalan, and the blue line is the single origin Colombian. For me, when I'm doing the Mustang, I'm getting more of like a earthy toast, and with the Colombian, I'm getting more of like the chocolates. Yeah. The darker chocolates, the baker's chocolate, with little hints of sugar, and then with like the Guatemalan, you're getting more of that earthiness, little hints for me, little hints of caramel, and kind of like pure cane sugar.
It's funny how I can taste those as you're saying
yeah.
But like when I'm tasting it,
Yep, and that's where I recommend go online, just do a coffee wheel and print it out. It'll tell you. It's
just
got a whole
look
spectrum
for those different
yep.
flavors.
Yep, and you'll see as you do different roasts, and you'll start to see some of the complexity of coffee and the some of the uniqueness of it. I really love coffee in the fact that in many ways it's kind of very similar to like wine tasting or craft beer. It's subjective. It's something that you can do socially. You know, one of the things I like to do is get a group of people together on, say, like a Saturday morning and invite them over and do a cupping.
What does your invite say? Let's cup. Let's cup. Come on over.
Come on over and enjoy some coffee. You know,
well, thanks for explaining it, man. That was really cool to walk through. I appreciated the time you took, and the explanation along the way is really cool. And I've seen some stuff on this, but I've really never focused on the actual steps, you know, like this. So it's neat to kind of see everything done for us right in front of us. So hopefully everybody out there learned something too about coffee. And even if you don't drink coffee, it's cool to kind of see the process, and maybe you could associate that with something else in your life too. But yeah, so where can people find Got Your Six Coffee if they're interested in checking it out?
You can go www.gotyoursixcoffee.com. We've got an online store. We're also integrating, in the process of integrating the online store on our Facebook page. So that's pretty much where you can get
Very
those.
Cool.
Yep.
So as far as the charity stuff goes, how are you guys handling that? Because you're trying to start your own nonprofit right now?
Right.
Okay.
So Got Your Six Coffee was formed back in December of last year, and in my mind it was an epiphany for me. When I started this, was actually geared towards doing a nonprofit, and found out that I had a retired Lieutenant Colonel Army chaplain who's versed in the nonprofit world. He asked me a question. He says, as you're doing this nonprofit, do you have the capability to go 2 or 3 years without a paycheck while we get this off the ground? And unfortunately I didn't, so we kind of tabled the idea, put it on the shelf, and after getting laid off from the oil industry, I started looking for work local in Springfield, Missouri. Well, when you spend your entire career on the ocean and you're landlocked in Springfield, and for personal reasons I'm kind of landlocked to Springfield with my son and everything. So it was an epiphany for me. I was walking down the aisle. I always knew about Newman's Own and what they were doing, and I was kind of exploring some entrepreneurial ideas. And as I'm doing my own grocery shopping, I had coffee in one hand and went to grab some pasta sauce, and I saw Newman's, and it was that aha moment. So what we're doing is I'm using coffee as a bridge to get to the nonprofit side, which is where I want to be. I want to, some things that are personal to me, the 47,472 homeless veterans that are in the United States. And the other thing that's big to me is the veteran suicide rate. You know, and as I got into this, I was focused on that specifically for the veterans. And the further and further I went down the rabbit hole with this, I realized that veterans aren't the only one dealing with issues. You know, you've got other nations' heroes, the EMT, the law enforcement, the firefighters, first responders. These guys are dealing with a lot of the same struggles that veterans deal with when it comes to PTSD and everything else. And so I really just kind of open it up, and am using this as a way to give back to the community. And with that, I've got my own nonprofit. It's a GY6 Foundation. The legal entity of it is formed, but I've yet to finish the 501(c)(3). So
right now, while you're waiting for that, you're just donating directly to those organizations.
I'm taking my profits, or the proceeds right now, and going to various nonprofits. Like I've got Heroes and Horses in Bozeman, Montana. He's a disabled Navy SEAL that uses a dude ranch to rehabilitate veterans, and kind of uses the animal aspect and the challenges and the outdoors. I've got Pieces of Home Springfield, which is a local nonprofit. They put on a CrossFit competition, and we take the proceeds and use that to send off care packages to soldiers that are deployed. You've got Blue Line Bears out of Florida, which is just, every time I hear about it, it's an amazing story. They actually started about a year ago. Her father is a police officer, and when she heard about the Dallas shootings last year with the 5 officers getting killed, she founded this nonprofit. And what she does is she reaches out to the families of fallen law enforcement officers, and she asks for the spare uniforms, and then she takes the material, the patches, and builds teddy bears and gives them back to the family as mementos.
That's cool.
You know, so at the end of the day, I've got several nonprofits that I'm working with right now, and you know, that's just, I'm really just trying to use the power of coffee in any way that I can to support various nonprofits that are geared towards the
awesome.
The 8 key groups. If you look at the logo, I've had several questions. You know, we were talking about this the other day about.
I'm a fan of the octopus.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Yeah. The question is always asked, why an octopus? Well, as I was going through the branding process, I was submitting photos, and several of them were of octopuses because that was going to be my next tattoo piece, and I gave the art for the artistic value. And it came back to me with the question, you know, do you want an octopus for your logo? And I was like, well, you know, how do you make an octopus in coffee? It seemed kind of weird to me, but you know, a week later they came back and they said, well, your whole thing is service to those who serve. You're serving 8 key groups: Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, EMT, law enforcement, and firefighters.
Yeah.
And then within that, I'd given several photos of like generic stock photos of like somebody helping somebody up, or they said, well, you're giving out back into the community 8 different ways. The octopus has 8 arms, and I was like, I was sold at that point.
Awesome.
So, and then of course, you know, the Got Your Six part comes from World War I fighter pilots, and we know it as a as, you know, you've got somebody's back, and it fits the mission, because, you know, for those that have served that need help.
Yeah, man.
We're here to try and help them.
Well, thanks for doing what you're doing. Thanks for stopping by and showing us this process.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, Eric.
Awesome.
Everybody, thanks for watching Gear Tasting. Hopefully you got something cool out of that coffee segment. I know I like drinking coffee. Hopefully many of you out there do, and hopefully you learned something. If not, you can always write in with a question using the pound tag Gear Tasting Radio and ask us a question that you would like answered, and we will try to get them on the show. Thanks for watching Gear Tasting, and as always, if you like what we're doing here on Gear Tasting, check us out on Patreon. It's brand new. We're trying to do some new stuff with that. So patreon.com/ITSTactical. You can donate some money to help us grow, and we can help you with some swag. Thanks for watching.